make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senator, you're recognized.
Now I move we adopt the committee sub in lieu of the original
Motion
bill.
is we adopt the committee sub in lieu of the original bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Mr. President, now I'd like to yield to Senator Parks to explain the bill.
Senator Parks, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. What this bill would do would be provide insurance coverage for the autism spectrum disorder. This is already covered in 38 states, targeting the age group of 2 to 8, opening up coverage for applied analyst ages for 25 hours a week. There have been some provisions made. At the proper time, I have a committee. So,
You have an amendment to the committee sub?
yeah,
Okay.
amendment.
I'm going to recognize Senator Jordan. For what purpose you see recognition, Senator Jordan?
I have a question, Mr. President, to the Senator.
Senator, do you yield?
Yes.
You recognize Senator Jordan.
Yes. What is the ratio of autism? Is it more prevalent in males than females?
Sir, I don't have that knowledge. I can tell you it's 1 in 68.
1 out of 68?
Children.
Is this with males or females?
I don't have that information. I can get it for you.
So you don't know whether it's carried on the Y or the M chromosome or not?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Jordan. Senator McDaniel, for what purpose do you see recognition?
Question, Mr. President.
Does the senator yield for a question?
Certainly.
You recognize Senator McDaniel.
I'm trying to understand the full extent of the bill. It seems to me that we are telling private insurance companies what they must insure. Is that the case?
We're adding it as a provision.
Up to this point, these companies have the option or the opportunity not to insure these areas as a matter of liberty, do they not?
That is correct.
At least one company in the state, however, has chosen in the free market to enter this marketplace and to provide coverage for autism disorders, haven't they?
They have.
Then why not let the free market work in this regard? If one company has done it, why not allow the other companies to just come forward without state force?
This is an issue that must be addressed from an age 2 to 8. We have allowed, 38 states have already taken this up. We'd like to see the state of Mississippi, because in the long run it costs us more as a state if we don't begin this coverage.
Does it also impact self-insurers?
There is a provision in here for small business.
So we're mandating not only that larger insurance companies cover autism disorders, even though they, up to this point, have chosen not to, but we're likewise telling self-insurers they also must cover this disorder, correct?
Yes.
Won't that not cost an increase in the premiums for everybody in the state?
I'm glad you asked that question. We have the average cost. The more that we have, one of the things about this, the more that we have insurance companies come on board, the more people involved, the less that cost is. So I think that's where we would see the benefit of all insurance companies jumping on board with this.
I understand that. It just concerns me that the marketplace doesn't seem to support this, at least privately, and we're using the show of state force to basically interfere with the free market. So, and you don't disagree with that assessment, do you? I mean, I think I
don't disagree with that assessment, but we have worked very diligently with the lobbyists here and all the insurance companies, and at this time, we do not have anyone opposing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? Senator Jones, for what purpose do you see recognition?
Just to have a question.
Does the senator yield for a question? Senator Parks, you yield?
Yes.
You recognize Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, in the process of putting the research together for the bill, in which I plan to support, did they ever find any findings that said vaccinations lead to autism?
There is some small percentage. It is out there in their spectrum. But it is not like the #1 leading or anything of that nature.
Because you are aware that we're getting ready to deal with the vaccines and vaccinations of the children, if they're healthy or if they're not healthy. So with you putting the bill out there at this time, will it affect it before it goes through the process if they find something else?
I do not think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No further questions?
Senator Norwood, for what purpose do you see recognition?
Question, Mr. President.
Does the senator yield for a question?
Yes.
You recognize Senator Norwood.
Okay. This legislation, would it allow individuals to be covered as long as they have it? Because I'm aware of some cases where individuals have been insured and then subsequently the insurance company dropped them because they've had because of, I guess, of the cost.
One of the things, what bill is doing is opening it up for 2 to 8. Now, there is a provision in there if, there is a doctor's believes they need a little bit more of this ABA, then it would provide for it. This bill also has a reverse repealer, so if there are things that we need to work on, we'll continue to work on them as
Thanks
well.
very much.
Thanks, Senator Norwood. Senator Sojourner, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
For a question.
Does the senator yield for a question? Senator Parks,
Yes.
you yield? You're recognized, Senator Sojourner.
Sorry.
Thank you, Senator Parks.
I'm
Thank
sitting
you,
over
Mr.
there.
President. In the bill, or in the discussion for the bill, I know that autism is not one of the top 10 conditions that's not insured. Some of those that are would be eyeglasses for children, obesity, some learning disabilities. Those are top 10 uninsured issues. In your discussions, if we're going to mandate that insurance agencies cover autism, did you discuss any of these other conditions that are much more prevalent in terms of uninsured conditions?
Those are not diseases or illnesses or things of that nature. They are covered under different provisions. Different insurance companies offer different provider cares for those. There are extras. So I know my insurance provides for eye care.
Well, I mean, the insurance associations nationwide did a study, and those are the top 10 most uninsured. I guess I'm just really troubled by the notion that we're going to mandate as a body what the insurance agencies must and must not cover on a condition that's not even one of the top 10 most uninsured conditions. I have a problem that we're going to mandate it, period. So I guess I'm just concerned, why single out this one if you're going to start dictating what the insurance companies can and can't provide coverage on?
Certainly. Senator Joyner, I understand your concerns and your issues here, but as we look at this as an insurance issue with our children from 2 to 8, from eyeglasses to diabetes, those type things, all those diabetes is covered under our current insurance programs today, the treatment of that process for our children. I understand your concerns.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just was revisiting with a parent who had a child who has a learning disability and had an $894 bill because it's not insured. Those are certainly more prevalent issues. I just don't think this is the arena that we need to be getting into at this time.
Thank you, Senator Sojourner. Senator Gandy, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Question, Mr.
Does the
President.
senator yield for a question?
Yes.
You recognize Senator Gandy.
Senator Parks, just a quick question. If a parent has a child with autism and their insurance provider does not cover that, what recourse do they have?
They do not have any.
They just pay the
bill.
cost themselves.
Right.
Do you have any idea about what cost for treatment of autism might be if it's out of pocket?
If it's out of pocket, they pay basically, those doing the training is about $50 an hour.
About $50 an hour?
Yes.
Would you have any idea? I know probably I'm going out there into areas that
Sure.
you might not have. But let's just say a parent has a child with autism. Would you have any idea about a month's worth of hours that they might have to go and care their child for treatment?
And it's depending on the school and the different grades and how that professional care is handled. But we're offering it through this bill 25 hours a week, and that's basically the average that's been
About
recommended.
25 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay. Is treatment for autism something that might be handled through a public school system, health?
What?
Through the public school systems, do they have a way of working with children with autism?
They do have provisions, but one of the things through the care is that we need to get these children earlier. And we need to get them at the age of 2, and that's prior to them going to school and being involved in that.
Thank you. One other question, and I'm ignorant of this, not having personal experience nor knowing anyone
Sure.
personally that has a child with autism. But what is the process through which they might go to be diagnosed as autistic?
There are recommendations that they would go to the pediatrics and then work with the psychologists, that type. And
I said one more
Genetics.
question, forgive me, but a follow-up on that one. And that might be as early as what age?
They can do it, I believe, around 1, but they want to get them into this training between the ages of 2 and 8 once they're diagnosed.
Okay, so if a child is diagnosed with autism at the age of 2 and has no insurance coverage between 2 and the time that they get into kindergarten, that would be an expense that their parents would cover.
It would.
About
It would.
possibly 25 hours a week at $50 an hour.
Absolutely, and if they don't get this training, the thing what we see is that they can't become productive citizens in society. This is the age to get that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Senator Jordan, for what purpose you seek recognition?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question.
Yes.
1 out of 80, I believe, what you quoted was the ratio of autism in males. Is that correct?
1 out of every 68, and that's
1 out of
not-
every 68 is
Yeah.
even closer
Children.
and worse. Do you think immunization has anything to do with this, with autism?
Senator Jones asked that question a little bit earlier. It is on the list, but it's very low on the rest. There
well,
are many things that play into this.
It's very low, isn't it? It's very. Would you agree that it's very unlikely you're going to get 100% out of everything? And for one disease that has been eradicated in Mississippi for the last 20 years, it's 99 immunization, 99% for that reason. Would you think that most likely, since that is the case, that autism could be inherited genetically? Would you agree?
There are some studies, I believe, that indicate that there are
99%, and that's one of the highest marks Mississippi have in anything.
Yes.
That is eradicating a measles. We're standing at 99%, and yet there are people who are saying that immunization has a lot to do with children with autism. Do you believe that?
There are a lot of theories out there, a lot of misnomers. Studies do show that it can contribute. Stress can contribute. There are a lot of contributing factors.
About 1 out of every 100, then you think that would...
I'm not sure what that number is, Senator Jordan. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Senator Hill, for what purpose you seek recognition?
Question, Mr. President.
Does Senator Hill for a question?
Yes.
You're recognized, Senator Hill.
Thank you, Senator Parks. I guess my question would be is we have one insurance company in this state that I think saturates about 70% of the market, and they already have begun to cover autism from what I understand. So what's left is the 30% of the smaller carriers in the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That we would be mandating to provide this coverage. If we spread that cost out amongst these smaller carriers who have already been hit with the mandates of Obamacare to provide coverages that they did not provide before. I know from a small business I used to work in that their rates have gone up. Would it be fair to say that some of these smaller carriers' rates may go up to the point that some of these employees that are just barely paying their premium would choose to maybe pay that IRS penalty instead of paying for health insurance based on another $20 or $50 or $75 a month increase in their insurance to try to spread this across that pool of those smaller carriers? Would that be fair to say that that would be a possibility?
There are thousands of possibilities out there, Senator Hill. However, what we've looked at, the cost of this is only 31 cents being the least, and at some point 70 cents throughout the 38 states that have taken this on. There is a provision in here for the small business employer, so if that is included in your scenario of the small carriers, they have that option to opt out of that.
So there's an option in this bill to opt out.
There's a provision for those small employers.
But would you say with 70% of the coverage in this state already providing this service that we need a bill from the legislature to mandate that other 30% to join in?
I do, because as a legislator, I have to look at the big picture, and the big picture is the cost of this as it grows, as these children are not, when they are not being trained, they're not getting the attention that they need, then it costs us at the end of the day a much larger figure when they do not become productive
Do
citizens.
you have longitudinal studies that show the benefits over a significant number of years from these other states that have covered this?
We can provide you with that data.
Thank you.
Senator Watson, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Question.
Does the senator yield for a question?
Yes, I do.
You're recognized, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator. A couple of questions. I want to preface this one with I'm a huge supporter of the Dream Foundation down in Jackson County on the coast. And what they do is address special needs students and children. And again, a huge supporter of that. My wife teaches a special needs choir. So this is a very important issue for me and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. However, a few questions I want to ask you, knowing that information and that background. What all services or surgeries or you name it are covered under this? Is it simply, is it therapy? Is it surgery? Is it what's included?
What is currently not covered today already by your insurance is the behavioral health treatment, the psychiatric care, the psychological care, and therapeutic care. That's what would be offered under this bill.
So those are
the ones that are remaining that aren't covered currently.
So those are therapies,
Right.
I guess, for a blanket term.
Right.
You mentioned something earlier with Senator Hill and Senator McDaniel talked on it as well. You know, one of the things that I think Americans in general, and Mississippians obviously are included in that, one of the provisions or multiple provisions that caused the Affordable Care Act to be so controversial was mandates and the government telling individuals and companies what they had to do. At some point in your mind, when is enough? When is too much of the government telling companies and individuals what they have to do?
You know, I don't disagree that there is a time and a place for those type thought processes, but in this state today, if we don't take charge and take care of those children and start providing some of these services, it's going to cost the state, we've already seen, much more at the end of the day because they cannot become productive citizens.
And I understand that, and again, the number of 70% has kind of been thrown around, and families that understand, you know, my child has autism, I've got to get them treatment. I would assume those families would probably start looking at, hey, what are the companies that are offering this? I need to go in that direction to get treatment for my children. So again, why should we at the government level tell companies what they have or cannot do, what they can and cannot do? At some point, you've got to draw that line. And look, again, as I mentioned before, this is something that's special to me. Autistic children, I understand. We've got to take care of them. But I don't think it's my place in government to tell companies what they have and cannot do, especially when it goes to instances like this. Again, I would ask, do you not think, I guess, if a company that's covering 70% of the market is covering that, these other individuals out there are going to want to compete for that and then move in that direction? Is that not...
I think that the more we have to join in for these services, the cheaper the cost will be for everyone in the state of Mississippi.
So it would be your position that government should tell those companies, you are the ones who are going to have to cover this gap, not the free market system.
If that's the way you pose that question, then that's how I would answer that question.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Senator Sojourner, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
I yield. It was answered.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have an amendment on the desk. I'm going to recognize Senator Parks for the amendment. If you would explain the amendment.
Yes. What came out of committee was that we had to would provide versus offer, also making the provision for the small business that we just discussed. Those are the amendments. And if there are no questions, I would ask the suggestion.
Question recurs on the adoption of the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. We're now on final passage. Senator McDaniel has asked to speak. Senator McDaniel will be recognized to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope not to be long up here, but there are some salient points I wish to hit. Not so much on the issue of autism, which we all agree as a body is a problem that needs to be addressed. It's touched all of our families. In each regard, it's been damaging, it's been expensive, it's been harmful. But what we're witnessing today is another extension of state authority. Where does it end? This should concern people that value liberty, that value bargained for exchanges, that value contractual rights. We are telling a private insurance company what it must sell, what it must do. Last year, Senator Tony Smith had a bill on the floor that dealt with the big gulp. You might recall that. Michael Bloomberg was attempting to outlaw the big gulps in the state of New York. And I think that bill, Tony, if I'm not mistaken, said municipalities can't tell people what they may not sell in regards to the big gulp. Conversely, we shouldn't mandate they sell the big gulp either. It's the same principle. That's the liberty interest being protected here. And if we go down this path, we are essentially, I'm speaking to some of the Republicans in here now especially, all of you that have railed against the Affordable Care Act, all of you that talked about how bad Obamacare is, all they've done is essentially the federalization of these types of mandates. This is Obamacare on light. Now, that doesn't mean we don't care about autistic children. We do, and there has to be a way for the state to do this without mandating the force of law, without telling people what they must sell and what they must do. How about a risk pool? How about a risk pool? Why not put the money aside, allow it to subsidize these people if they really need help? But not in this instance. No, we want to violate the freedom of contract and tell folks what they may do and what they may not do. And if we're going to do that, I want to know where the logical end is, because I looked just a moment ago and I found the top 10 medical services not presently insured by your insurance companies. And I thought it was pretty cool, because I think perhaps it's time for us to mandate adult dental services. We should mandate children's eyeglasses. David Parker is a doctor. He deals with this every day. Do you believe he should be forced to sell or give away children's eyeglasses? Weight loss surgery is not covered. I know a lot of us could utilize the weight loss coverage in that regard. Children's dental checkups cost me a fortune every year, not covered by my health insurance policy. Acupuncture, not covered. Private nursing, not covered. Weight loss programs, not covered. Infertility treatments, that's pretty important, not covered. Cosmetic surgery, not covered. Long-term care, not covered. These things aren't covered. Perhaps they should be covered, but that is the place of the marketplace, not of this government to dictate. If the marketplace is open to these ideas, they will cover these ideas. But so far, we haven't seen that. And so we feel impatient enough to step up here with force of law and dictate what a company must do and what it must not do, even though the largest one in the state is already doing it voluntarily. Liberty interests matter, ladies and gentlemen. They've always mattered. It just seems sometimes we're a bit impatient. Let the market work. I encourage you to vote no.
Thank you, Senator McDaniel. Senator Longwitz is asked to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a co-author of this bill, and it's something that we've looked at closely and spent a lot of time working on. But aside from that, I've gotten a lot of phone calls from people about this bill. I've gotten a lot of emails. I've heard a lot of stories. There are parents here in Mississippi and in other places who are forced to pay as much as $5,000 to $10,000 per month to get treatment for their child currently. This is a treatable condition. Autism is treatable. This is not like pediatric eyeglasses, as somebody has suggested today. This is not cosmetic surgery. You can find eyeglasses. You can get cosmetic surgery. But we're talking about a condition that is treatable, and it's most treatable when people are children. This condition, when I say that this condition tears families apart, I'm not exaggerating. People leave their jobs. People move from state to state to try to get this condition treated. And I'm not just saying this to tug at your heartstrings. You don't have to have sympathy to think this is a good idea. One study done in 2006 by the Harvard School of Public Health estimated that it costs $3.2 million to take care of an individual with autism over his or her lifetime. Now, the treatment that this is going to help provide to children gets to this condition early and can reverse that. What is proposed in this bill is a simple solution that works for all of us. We do mandate coverage for all kinds of diseases. There are diseases that would outrage all of us if an insurance company could provide it. We're allowed to deny coverage for it. Nothing makes more sense for our state and for these families who are dealing with autism to require coverage. And I would respectfully say to my colleagues all across the ideological spectrum in this room that there are a lot of ideological fights worth having. And there are a lot of ideological battles worth fighting on the floor of this body. But I would ask you today, if we're going to have an ideological battle, let's not do it at the expense of children with autism. Thank you.
Senator Norwood, seek recognition.
Introduction at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
You may do so at this time.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce in the West Gallery, in the North Gallery, some senior individuals from Jackson, Mississippi, participating in a senior aid program. I would like for them to stand, and if they'd like for the Senate to make them welcome.
Thank you, Senator Norwood, and welcome to the Mississippi Senate. Senator Kelvin Butler, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Well, I had a question for the Senator Longwit.
Let me see if there are any other introductions, and I'll get right back to you. Senator Jones, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
I had a question for Senator Longwit.
All right, we'll cue you up as well. Senator Willie Simmons.
An introduction.
You're recognized for an introduction.
Mr. President and members of the Senate, I'd like to draw your attention to the North Gallery and introduce some great Bolivar Countyans and Cole County who support Alcorn State University. Mr. Everett Smith, Harrison Crawford, Mr. Clark, and Mr. Sylvester Graham. Would you please stand and have the Senate welcome you?
Thank you, Senator Simmons, and welcome to the State Senate. Senator Jordan.
Sir, thank you, Mr. President. I have an introduction out of order, please.
You're recognized for that purpose.
In the East Gallery, we have with us the national president of Mississippi Valley State University Alumni Association from Greenwood, Mr. John Henry Johnson. Please stand so that the Senate can read. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jordan, and welcome to the Mississippi State Senate on this wonderful day honoring your university. Now, if those of you who are seeking recognition for questioning would push your buttons, we'll get you hopefully in the same order you had them. Senator Kelvin Butler, I believe, was first. You're recognized.
Senator Longwit.
Senator Longwit, are you available
He's
to
still
make a
around?
question? Do you yield, Senator Longwit?
I yield, and I also reserve the right to refer questions to the lead author on the bill, who I'm sure is much more knowledgeable than I am.
Senator Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, thank you, Senator. I just had a little simple question. I think when we went through committee, this bill came up, and so employers may cover this. Is that correct?
I'm going to yield to the lead author.
With the amendment, yes, they shall, yeah, it says they may provide.
They may provide, and then it says that if it goes up more than, 2.5%, what am I saying? They shall provide unless it go up over 2.5%, right? Something like that?
Well, that's part of the amendment, the changes. Put that back up. We changed that language. We took the 2.5% out. We worked with the small business owners, and this is what the employers, this is what they wanted. They wanted that a small employer with less than 100 employees. They wanted to strike that language and replace it with this, and that's what we've done in this amendment.
Okay, so now everybody have to cover this.
Well, the small employer has the option of 100 employees or less to offer it. They only have to offer it. They don't have to provide it. They have just only offer it.
Okay, so if they don't provide it, then what happens?
Then they would leave those out of that bracket.
Okay, thank you.
We're in hopes they all will.
Senator Sojourner, Senator Jones is next up. Senator Jones, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Question, Mr. President.
Do you yield, Senator Parks?
It's for Senator Longwit.
Okay, Senator Longwitz, do you yield?
I do yield.
Senator Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you. Senator Longwit.
Yes, sir.
I heard your summation on autism. My question is, by this piece of legislation, do you believe that we will actively initiate other diseases and other problems with children if we start right here?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. If we start with autism, will we be able to later on use the same concept to address other specific diseases like Senator McDaniel was addressing or other things that we're doing? Or is this just going to be case-specific, first time and only time we deal with this? Or do you think we're setting a precedent that we can actually help by doing this and starting right here with other diseases that children encounter?
Well, I guess, and I hate to respond to my colleague's question with a question, but what other major diseases are not covered by insurance plans?
Yeah, but see, what I'm hearing in the argument is that you want to go get glasses, you want to go do this, you're bringing up other problems that children have as it relates to autism and what we're doing in this bill. So what I'm saying is, when you start talking about these type of diseases being covered by insurance, are we setting a precedent doing this, whether we're going to eventually cover everything that needs to be covered?
That's not a concern that I have, Senator, because other diseases that are as serious and as treatable as autism are covered by insurance. I mean, you pick any one you want. Any major disease is already covered. So I do not think this is a slippery slope, because I think we're already at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get clarity on autism being the one that, was autism the only one that wasn't covered?
That is correct. That is correct. Out of, you know, we checked with all the different organizations, and it was diseases and illnesses are all covered, with the exception of some experimental or chemical, something of that nature would be the only thing.
Okay, so we're just actively probably adding this to where it needs to be in the first place.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
We're not mandating insurance coverage for something that, I mean, Senator Parks.
This is just something that needed to have been added, and that's what we're trying to do today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jones. Senator Sojourner, for what purpose do you seek recognition?
Question for Senator Longwitz.
Senator Longwitz. Senator Longwitz does not yield.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. I do have one for Senator Parks.
Senator Parks, do you yield?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're
Part
recognized,
of the comments that Senator Longwitz made or the questioning to him referred to other conditions. I don't know the statistical percentage, but certainly ADD and ADHD are very prevalent medical conditions among our children. Are you aware that